Welcome back to the Talk Healing to Me podcast. I'm your host, Karen Dwyer, and today's episode is one that's going to stay with you. I am so honoured to be joined by the incredible Jacqui Sheppard, a woman whose story is one of deep courage, quiet strength, and the kind of healing that goes beyond the physical. Jacqui is a member of our MS to Success programs, and she's used a wheelchair for a number of years, has done so much work around nutrition and wellness, and yet, like so many, has arrived in the program feeling exhausted and unsure and carrying a lot of fear of what's possible for her body. But what's happened since is nothing short of powerful. From being able to lift her leg into bed again to reconnecting with her own strength, and perhaps most beautifully, learning to receive support without any other thoughts of worry or shame, Jacqui has been on a transformational journey. Her husband has noticed the changes, she's noticed the changes, and now she prepares to become a grandmother. She is stepping into a whole other chapter with more peace, presence, and more hope. And in this conversation, we'll talk about resistance, rest, nervous system healing, and what it means to show up even if you feel less than perfect. Jacqui's story is a reminder that healing doesn't always look flashy, but it is always worth it. So get cozy, take a breath, and let Jacqui's story move you like it moved me. Let's dive in. Jacqui, you're so welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Thanks for saying yes to doing this. I think anytime you're doing anything like this, it can invoke lots of feelings of feeling nervous or what am I going to be asked, or how are you feeling today showing up?
Yeah, definitely all of that. Yes, I mean, I so wanted to do it, and I'm very happy that I'm doing it with you. But yes, nervous. Don't want to say the wrong thing, but I know it's not about that. But yeah, excited as well.
Beautiful. Well, we're so happy to have it. And you know what? You're chatting amongst friends. We're going to have a chat. You're going to even forget that you're doing a podcast. So we'll have the chats. And we'll have the crack, as we say in Ireland. Not that kind of crack for anybody listening in the US. We'll have a bit of fun having a chat. Okay, let's dive in. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your doctor. Views shared are personal and not a substitute for professional guidance. So Jacqui, tell me what was earlier life like for you? What did you work at? Did you work, pre-kids? Give us a sense of what life was like for you.
Okay, yeah. Well, I wanted to be a makeup artist. That was my original when I was sort of 15. I did a drama O level and I was in a travelling theatre. So a little bit of acting, but then decided, no, I was more of a backstage person. So makeup artist in the theatre. And trying to get into that, I started working at what was called the costume studio. And I could also sew. So she got me making a lot of costumes because we ranged from medieval up to 1920s. Well, obviously you can't go and find those costumes. They have to be made. So I started a lot of making, designing, making patterns, designing, and doing wigs because I was very interested in the wigs side of things. So I would dress all the wigs ready for the productions. And then eventually, a few years after, I took over the business, so the costume studio became mine. And
Wow.
we supplied theatres all over the country and to one in Northern Ireland.
Amazing.
I loved it. I did love it. It was great. Mhm.
Oh, how incredible. How incredible. I can only imagine the wigs and the care of all of those things and the people then that you're dealing with as well. Did you ever have to deal with any absolute divas?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, to do a production, the producer would come to see me and the wardrobe mistress and possibly the lead. And I really fought against the lead character coming to see me because they could be a piece of work. Nothing was good enough, and they would tell me what they thought they should be dressing, what they should be wearing. And I probably dressed this production many times. I said, I know I know the character, because obviously you've got to know whatever it is, the libretto, the script, the play, whatever it is, you've got to know the characters. So, but yeah, they could be difficult at times. Yeah.
Wow. I can only imagine. I think you might need to write a book about all of that, Jacqui. How cool. Did you try on all the costumes all the time? And the wigs?
A few, a few, yeah, not all of them. I mean, we had over 6,000, um, but but a few. I mean, we did fancy dress as well because that kind of kept all the bills being paid when the shows weren't on. But yeah, I loved it. It was great. It was great. Just seeing that transformation
Right.
really, of sending all the costumes out and then going to watch the production, thinking those are all my costumes on there, and it was lovely, and I loved it. I did love it. I was born to do it. I think I loved it.
Oh, beautiful. When you look back to where you were before joining the program, what was your body, your mind, your heart carrying at the time?
Gosh, well, a lot of stuff really. I mean, as you said in the introduction, I have tried many things. It's 20 years nearly since I was diagnosed. I went on that journey. For me, my way of coping really was to research and get as much information as I could of the disease because I knew very little about it. And that's what I did and tried pretty much everything. Um, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as they say. And I hadn't really, I suppose I had plateaued. Didn't feel I was getting any worse, but I wasn't getting it any better. I still wasn't walking. I can transfer and I can do pretty much everything by myself. Um, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I
Yeah.
tried many things.
Yeah. One of the things that really struck me when we had our first conversation was you mentioned and the phrase, and I almost don't want to say it because I'm hoping you don't feel like that now, but you mentioned that your legs felt like just lumps of meat. And it's
So
such a powerful and yet heartbreaking image. What did that loss of connection feel like in your everyday life?
it was massive. From being a very independent person, to having that loss of not being able to just jump in the car somewhere and drive myself, and um, which I'd always done for a long time. Um, it's almost I try to explain to people as sort of perhaps to my husband, as sort of, just imagine that you're sitting down and somebody takes your legs away. That's what it is for me if I don't have the scooter or anything behind me. Um, and it's such a massive part. If they're joined to me, but they don't work. Well, that's wrong actually, because they do work and they're working better, but they had become like yeah, like blocks of wood. Like I couldn't move them. Standing up was okay, but literally standing up and then sitting down again. Um,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's hard from going to being very independent to all of a sudden, no, you can't do that anymore. And that was
Yeah.
that was tough.
Yeah. And thanks for being really authentic and sharing that, Jackie. One of the things that you had mentioned was you were always the person who, pushed through and didn't want anybody to see you struggle. Where do you think that came from, or and what kind of impact did it have over time, do you think?
Gosh, where it came from, I don't know. I can only think back really to my nana, who had rheumatoid arthritis, which of course now is classed as an autoimmune disease, but it wasn't then.
Mm.
Um, she lived till she was 93, um, and struggled daily. Didn't leave the house. And I've always said, if I have just a little bit of her will, I'll be okay. And I think I am quite a I think it's hard to save yourself really, but I think I'm quite a strong character. So therefore, I won't let things stop me. I've always said, I understand, I'm not in denial of the disease. I understand I have the disease. What I don't accept is that I can't get better. I think I can get better. And it might take a long time, and I'm sure it will, but I will get better.
I love that. I love that, Jackie. At the beginning of the program, and I'm sure, at the beginning, before maybe just as you were joining MS to Success, what were your biggest fears at the beginning? And you can be totally honest, by the way. What part of it were you worried about? Like, were you worried it might fail, or that nothing would change? Give us a sense of it.
I suppose, as with anything really, that there's always that trepidation that is this going to work? Is this going to? Because I had done so many. I have been on so many different diets. Um, I don't like to use the word diet really because it's not like losing weight, but an eating program. And I had tried, and maybe, and people have said to me, maybe you've stayed as well as you have because you've done all these bits along the way. Um, I just felt I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I had seen you, Karen, for quite a while, dipped in and out and thought, shall I? Shall I? Shan't I? I'm not sure. And then just one day it was like, I'm going to do this. I need to do this. I need to see if this is going to help me.
Yeah,
And
brilliant.
by God, am I glad I did.
Yeah, good. I mean, despite all that fear and resistance, you've kept showing up. Do you remember something? And by the way, just to, I suppose what's an important thing to say, you're only in the program a few weeks, really. You're only a few weeks in, and I think this is why. Because I think, Jackie, it'd be really important for us, or it would be really easy for us to, have a chat at the end and be like, "Oh, everything's great, and look how fabulous." But actually, I think what's even more important is to chat to people, at the beginning and in the middle so that people can get a sense, because I think it's all too easy to look on social media and go, like the easiest ones to look at, right? Are the before and after with the weight, because it's like, but actually what nobody sees, particularly in the MS to Success programs, is all of those micro moments and micro decisions where maybe old patterns, or maybe just not having the support or knowledge there. But that can be really like it can be really easy to say, "Oh no, I'm not going to do that," or "I've tried this before." You have tried quite a bit before, and it would have been easy to go, "Nothing's worked. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to do my thing." Was there a moment where something began to shift for you that you thought, "Oh, okay, this is different." What might that have been?
Yeah. Yeah, the program itself, really, the MS to Success. When I first um, received my smoothies, now that's something I'd never heard of. I'd never used them. And when they arrived, it was like, "Ooh, this is a bit different." And a lot of the things I've done before, the exercise is very typical of exercises that you would imagine. And this was something very different. And just having that on, particularly on my legs, because like I said, my legs are the thing I most concentrate on. I can feel it. I can feel the vibrations. And it just made me think this is different. This is different. This is the no dairy, no gluten, which I've done a lot and I'm still doing. Um, and that maybe has helped. But the smoothies, the talking, the gratitudes, not watching the news, all of these things that I kind of just did and almost took for granted. Well, this is my life. This is what I'll do. Not really thinking, if I pick that out or if I do that slightly different, maybe this will help me. Um, and I have changed quite a few things, and I have to say, I'm so happy I did, and I am doing that. And yeah, the smoothies is you say it's an exercise, but it's not really even that. It's so nice and so enjoyable, and you almost think this can't be this good. It can't be this good and work. It's sort of, and I look forward to doing them. And do all the bits, and I watch the replay sometimes. And
Mhm.
obviously I'm on the call on a Tuesday, which I love, the live call. But yeah, I think that's probably the biggest standout for me because I've had nothing like that before.
Amazing, amazing. We're so happy that you're so happy. I think that the thing that is, well, like, I'm gonna say this, but I and you maybe tell me, like, uh, w in terms of the other things that you've done, and I feel like I'm trying to get bouquets thrown at MS to Success, and I am in a little bit of a way, right? Because this is of course, this is a slightly guiding question, but I want people to hear, because there's our program isn't for everyone, Jackie, and we don't accept everyone into what we're doing, because it is really comprehensive. It's not a kind of sit back, order something at a restaurant and have it delivered to you. You've got to put in the reps, otherwise there's no point. You know, I have recommended some things that we do, or some, you know, some of the tools that we use, like you've mentioned earlier on in the program, and people will buy them and they're not cheap. And they'll go and buy them and go, oh, they were useless, and I'll get some nasty comments. And it's like, well, if you're not guided and supported and have the accountability and actually the correct moves rather than just swinging them around the place, it's very hard to do. What is your experience, and how is this like? How is your experience different from participating in this to anything else, would you say? And maybe it's the same, Jackie, I don't know. But what would you say might have it different for, maybe if somebody's listening that has spent 20 or 30 years trying different things and might feel a little bit forlorn, or F this, I've tried everything. But if they haven't tried us, they haven't. What would you say to that?
Yeah, absolutely. They haven't. It's I've never done anything like this. I mean, I've just spoken about the smoothies, but there's so much more. And it's like you say, you have to do the work. I mean, all the modules, all the work that's sent that you read through, it is so comprehensive that it's hard for somebody to understand properly until they're actually in it. And I don't think I realized fully until you know, had that conversation with you and I signed up. Um, and just it's going through step by step, and there's no sort of pressure. There's no, right, you've got to do this, right, that's got to be done by X day and that's got to be done by whenever. It's none of that. You do it at your own pace, but you have to do it. Well, otherwise, what's the point? And that's, I think, probably the most I find different, because the other things I've tried, pretty much I've tried on my own. It might be somebody that's doing a particular eating regime, but that's about it. And they say a little bit of exercise, you know, you need to keep moving, you need to be doing this. I'm thinking, well, you know, moving's a bit difficult when your legs don't work properly. Yes, my other body strength's good, but that's obviously not what I, you know, I obviously want the legs working. So there's nothing I've done that has come anywhere close to the MS to Success program. And it's blown my mind. And like I keep sort of saying to my husband, you know, you've no idea. And I show him, and he's like, "Well, you've never done anything like this before." And I said, "Oh no, because there isn't anything out there that I know of like this." Um, so it's sort of the programs I've done before, well, they're not even that really. They're basically a diet regime with a little bit of exercise, a bit of positive thinking, visualization, which I know, so I've done that before, which I do now. Um, but it's the whole package. That there's so much to know, and the great thing about it is that we're all of us ladies, we've all got MS. So when you talk or you put something on Facebook in the gratitudes, and you know that they understand. I mean, all our symptoms are different. You know, we might have similar ones, but like they always say, that they're different. But they understand. And the same talking to you, Karen, you know what it's like. And sometimes it's hard when you're trying to explain to somebody, but I haven't got a clue. Just haven't got a clue. And that's not their fault. Because unless you're in it, unless you've got the disease, you don't know. I mean, the top neurologist in the country, I don't think knows, unless he's got MS. I don't think he properly knows. I probably know as much because I've read everything from day one. I sort of, right, that's it. Every book I could find, anything on the internet I would read. But the MS to Success program has opened my eyes to something very, very different. And I
Oh,
love
that's
it.
cool. Yeah. One of the things you mentioned on one of our calls, it was really, really beautiful, was I didn't need to fix myself to be welcome here. And I thought that was really nice, because one of the things that I suppose that we pride ourselves on is being able to show up exactly as you are and exactly as you aren't. And we don't care if you're showing up with snots and tears, or you're showing up, you know, hands in the air. Oh my God, I was just able to do X, Y, or Z. We want to see all of the colors of the spectrum, because we know that life isn't that one kind of straight line. What did it feel like to finally receive support without needing to prove or perform, Jackie?
Um, I couldn't even begin to describe it. It was so incredible to have that support and to know that you're there. Um, I can sort of call up at any point, and you will see me. And if I'm worried about something, or something's not going quite as I think it should, or you're there. And I've never had that before. I've never had that, and it's an incredible feeling to have that support, to feel I am moving, I am changing, things are happening, little by little, things are happening, and it's fabulous.
Yeah, you're only in, like, within the first 2 months of your program, really, even a little bit less than that, and you've another, like, 2/3 of the program to go. Jackie, what are you gonna be like at the end of month 6? How cool is that? Um,
Yeah.
there was something that you mentioned, again, another call where we spoke about you allowing yourself to rest and letting go of that need to push through. How do you think that, or how do you think you've changed your relationship with your body?
I think I'm more accepting, and I think again that comes down to the smoothies, because now I feel I'm really doing something to help my legs. Where before, when I would have tried to do any sort of exercise before, I never really felt it was helping. The legs would get even heavier. I would get very fatigued. And then you've got a knock-on effect. And then it's like, well, there's just no point. Why am I bothering? Because I just get so fatigued with it. And you don't with the smoothies. I mean, yes, it's tiring afterwards because if they're doing what they should be doing, but my legs feel alive. It's incredible. It's
Oh,
incredible.
amazing, amazing. You've mentioned some of those physical wins, being able to lift your leg into bed and reconnecting with your core. What stands out to you the most with the physical wins that you've had so far?
Um, Few things really. Yes, definitely lifting the leg. Um, my left side, my left leg particularly, is weaker. So getting into bed, the right leg's fine, but yeah, trying to get the left leg in was difficult. So that's just I get into bed and up it comes, and that's it, and it's done. So that's a big one. Um, I do get very stressed, and I really try very hard. I think it's just my nature, really. A bit of a warrior, so I try very hard not to. And there's a couple of things that have happened recently. One being the baby shower that I did for my daughter, which I wanted to do and I was happy to do, and it was so lovely for her. But I knew as well I would get stressed about that. I got probably 20, 25 people coming to the house, and I thought, "Oh, I don't know how to do this okay. I'm not sure how this is gonna work." And when I've done some, not that particular thing, but when I've done other things, I usually really pay for it a couple of days later, where I basically don't want to get out of bed. With this, I got through it easily, and later on in the next day, fine, absolutely fine. No bother at all. And the other thing I've noticed is with the humidity, which I do suffer with a heat intolerance, and we've had quite a hot spell here, and that I get very drained, and that's I think anybody does really, but obviously the MS makes it worse. But again, as soon as the temperature changed, and this would have taken me a few days, but it didn't. Like the next day, I thought, oh, well, okay, I'm back. I'm back. And I was as I was before. So I'm recovering, even though the little bits are there. I'm recovering that much better and much more quickly. So
Amazing,
that's
amazing,
great.
Jackie. So great. You've mentioned your husband a couple of times, and your daughter's due in a few weeks with their first grandbaby. Like, that's so exciting. Well done on putting the. I mean, anybody putting a baby shower together is. I mean, I tip my hat to you. Um, your husband, I'm sure, like, you're living in the same home. Tell me, has he noticed anything?
He has. He definitely has. Um, Again, similar to what I've just said, really, my recovery. So when I've been really bad, whether I've had an infection or the heat or whatever, I then sometimes need help to get out of the chair. That hasn't happened. And again, the recovery and getting into bed, because he'd sort of say, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I am a little bit, I won't say stubborn. I won't say stubborn, but I do sort of, I want to do it.
We're all a little bit stubborn, Jackie. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I want to do it. I want to do it. So, but he's always sort of, well, just give me a shout if you need a hand. But he said, I can tell. And getting into bed, I think because I can make quite a bit of noise because of the headboard, I usually sort of pull on it, metal headboard. And he said, "You're just so quiet." He said, "I hardly know that you got into bed because you're just so quiet." And he's also said my mood, he feels I'm happier. And now I don't think, because I tend, you see what you know, you get what you see sort of thing. Um, and I am what I am. But he definitely feels that my mood seems brighter, if I can put it like that, and I seem happier. And I think it's
Mm.
because I just feel things are shifting and working. So yeah,
Oh, I love that. It's so because look, I think, and we speak about this on our Friday wind up call, that the default way of being and thinking about ourselves usually is I haven't done enough, I should be doing more, must do, haven't done, and we should all over ourselves. And so when somebody says that to you from outside, it's really, really nice acknowledgement of, oh my God, they're
definitely.
seeing this. And because you're in it, what is it? You can never see the jar when you're inside the label. I remember another client saying that
Yes.
to me. I thought it was a great phrase.
Yeah,
We
that's
don't
good.
see it, right? Yeah, it's such
Yeah.
a great phrase. But that's brilliant to hear. We've had other clients in the past as well who have gone back to physios, and they might go once a month or once every 2 months, and they have noticed then even in strength, and one of the I can't remember who it was, it might have been Taya, I can't remember exactly, but some physio had no, I think it was Katie Gwynn actually, had some fancy pants way of testing, like, with a machine, and they were able to read the difference in the
Oh
muscle
gosh.
strength and muscle, um strength within it. I'm clearly not getting the name of it right, but yeah, I remember being very impressed seeing the percentages on a on a result thing. But that's amazing for your husband to notice that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's changed your relationship in any way?
Um, oh gosh, that's a tricky one. Has it changed? Um, I'm not sure that it's changed exactly. I think he's always been very supportive. He's always wanted me to do whatever I need to do. Um, he knows I'm a fighter, and he knows I am very determined. If I put my mind to something, I mean, again, it comes back to the food, I suppose. That somebody might sort of say, "Well, how long have you been on it?" And not this particular, not the MS success, but generally. And I might say, "Oh, well, I've not had dairy for probably a month now," and they go, "Really? You managed to do it for that long?" And then it'll come 6 months, and I will stay on it, and that's once I'm on it, I'm on it. Um, so he knows my determination. Um, I think he's very proud, um, because he realizes how difficult the fight can be, because he sees all the shit as well, he sees the bad days as well as the good
Mhm.
days, which there are inevitably with anything.
Of
So
course.
yeah, so I think we're probably just closer if anything, but we've always been good.
I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Jackie, talk to us a little bit and thanks for bringing that up because we can sit here and we can talk about all the great things and oh my God, and really, and of course, it's always lovely to talk about those things and to acknowledge them. But maybe let's talk about maybe a time when you didn't feel so confident or you didn't feel so hopeful or strong in the face of what you were dealing with. Talk to us a little bit about that. Like what would a younger version of yourself say to yourself now and what was it like for you back then when it was maybe a bit more difficult? This episode of Talk Healing to Me is sponsored by Clean Boss, created by Joy Mangano, the legendary inventor behind the Miracle Mop and a pioneer in clean innovation. Clean Boss is a botanical disinfectant that kills 99.9% of viruses, germs, and bacteria. It's safe for food surfaces, soft surfaces, and baby high chairs with no toxic ingredients and no rinse required. It's also a degreaser, odor eliminator, and all-purpose cleaner that works as hard as the chemical heavy stuff without the health risks. Check it out at getcleanboss.com/Karen for a clean, better, and living safer life.
Gosh, okay. What would I say? I would say fight on. Um, I think things have been difficult, of course. You do from the early diagnosis to walking and being pretty much okay. and then having the relapses, so losing the ability to walk, certainly walk unaided for quite a long time before I then went onto the scooter. Um, I think I'd probably just say, stick with it. You're doing the right thing. I think I mentioned it earlier. I have to, for myself, for my own sanity, I have to be doing something. I've got a lot of friends, not a lot. I've got quite, a few friends who've got MS, um, and a lot of them are sort of, oh no, no, I couldn't be bothered, and they don't want to do things, and that's fine, and that's how they deal with it. That's not my way. Um, which is how I found all these different things, I suppose. And my younger self would just say, keep fighting, keep going, because you never know. And my motto is never say never. So who
I
knows
love
what can happen?
Yeah.
Um,
And I think people will have different seasons of, and I suppose much like the weather, there can be seasons where it's like, "Oh my god, I can't even think about doing anything more." And, somebody else said recently, another great phrase by one of our clients, that she had paralysis by analysis because of reading so much and buying every book and looking at
yeah,
everything online, because it can be overwhelming because there are
yeah.
so many conflicting things. Take us back a little bit to when you were diagnosed first. What was the first thing that you, because you're an action taker and you can hear that a mile off. What was the first thing that you tried, and what was your experience like of trying to seek support back then?
Um, yeah, well, the first thing I did was go on the internet. And 20 years ago, it wasn't as it is today, it was there. And just research things. So the first things I tried, well, the first thing was nutrition, and then I did acupuncture, reflexology, Reiki, all the natural sort of therapies, because I think I had always been that sort of way. I wasn't sort of, oh, I've got a headache, or I'll just take proper paracetamol. I wasn't really that way. I'd rather look for the natural route. So that was the way I went initially. When I was first diagnosed, it was a massive shock. Um, and I know that's different for a lot of people, because again, people I know that they were so relieved because they knew there was something, but they didn't know what it was. And once they had the diagnosis, it was like, oh, so that's what it is. Wasn't like that for me. My symptoms were very
Mm.
few, really. Um, so it was a massive shock. Um, but it was something that, yeah, I think you have to. And the family were very good. Things that had losses in the family, which made things difficult. Um, but it's just, yeah, just doing as much as I could to source things out.
Yeah. There are so many different angles to think about, right? You can hear that you are determined, and like you mentioned a little bit, you're stubborn. You're like, no, I'm not going to let this, take over, and I'm going to do everything within my power to do it. What would you say to someone maybe who's listening that maybe uses a wheelchair and feels stuck? Or maybe they're deeply frustrated, or maybe they're even angry. What would you say to them from your heart to theirs?
Um, don't give up. Join this program, because this is what's made the big change for me. I have tried lots of things, as I'm sure they would have tried lots of things. And the MS to Success is what's made a change for me after 20 years. Don't give up. Do what you can. Join the program. You won't
Yeah.
regret it.
Oh, I didn't pay you to say that, Jackie, didn't I not? To say that.
No, not at all, not at all. But that's
Yeah.
just speaking honestly. That's what I would say. That's just what I would honestly say.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for saying. Look, we're Sophie. Here's what I will say. Um, the reason that you're getting the results is because you're showing up and you're doing the work. And we only want people who are actually willing to put in the
Yeah,
time, who have belief that they can improve,
yeah,
um, and who are coachable. They're three really important traits that all of our clients have, because there's no point in somebody showing up and wasting their time or their energy and their money if they're not willing to put in the work, or if somebody's really skeptical and thinks, oh, I'm not going to be able to, or maybe they have people in their family. I mean, I've seen it with husbands or wives or family, oh, you're not going to be able to do this. And then that's in the back of somebody's mind as well. So it's so important to have people around you that are supportive, and who will, because look, most of the time, by the time that people get to us, they have tried a lot of things.
Mm.
We're the last place that people come to most of the time, and there are some people who will go off and do stem cell therapy or whatever it might be, and they'll end up coming back, or whatever it might be. But it is only for the people who are willing to put in the work. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's just a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah.
So I really acknowledge you for doing that. Um, was there any one shift, maybe something simple that someone listening at home that could do to begin to feel in control or more hopeful, that you would suggest? And it might be something from the program, or it might be something else that you've developed and really works for you along the way. What would that thing be that you'd share?
That made a difference. That
Mm.
is, yes. Gosh, yeah. I mean, it is being consistent. It's like you say, you have to do the work. It's no good just joining something and sitting back, because it's not going to work. So I think consistency, having the determination, putting in the work, um, yeah, and just giving yourself time and
Mhm.
time to rest as well, because it is tiring if you're having MS. And doing everything else that you do. I mean, like we've said, my children are grown up now, but uh, they were 8 and 10 when I was diagnosed. So um, I had young children when I was going through it at the beginning. So yeah, don't give up. Give yourself time. Give yourself that time and hope. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. What was it like when you were diagnosed and had two kids that young, and how did you manage? Like, did you tell them? Did you not tell them? Did you wait a while? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yes, I did tell them. Um, and the main reason for that was uh, my mum had just passed away 4 months before I was diagnosed, who's obviously their granny, and my sister 7 years before that. So, what I didn't want for them was to think, "Oh, Mummy's going to die." So, they knew obviously something. They knew I'd been to the doctors and had various tests and MRI. Um, we had horses. I had a horse. My daughter had a pony. That was becoming a little bit more difficult for me because I was outside doing everything. Um, so I needed to tell them so I could explain to them what was happening, and I was fine. But the main reason was, like I said, Grandma had recently passed away, and I couldn't have them thinking, "Well, is what's Mum got then? Is that the same?"
I'm sorry to hear about your mum passing and your sister passing as well. That's a lot of stress and trauma in such a short space of time, and then being diagnosed as well. Do you do you think that stress on the nervous system has an impact on being diagnosed, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think stress has a massive effect.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I can physically feel it at times if I'm very stressed. So yes,
Mhm.
yes, absolutely. Stress is massive. Um, the bereavements obviously were difficult. My brother-in-law died 2 years after my sister. So obviously their children then had lost both parents. So and I just try to help everybody as you do. But yes, stress is a massive thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's a I think it's a really tricky one, and again, and I don't mean to be sexist about this, but and I'm sure people think I don't like men because I've said this quite a few times on the podcast, but I don't. I love men. I love Noel. I mean, I have so many great men around me, so but and maybe this is a me thing more than a men thing, but I see that women carry a different emotional load, particularly as a parent or a sister, whoever, or it might be. Do you experience that, and how do you think that's affected your health and well-being?
Yes, I think women do carry more, um, rightly or wrongly. I think women naturally, and again, you don't want to sort of generalize, make that sort of generalization, but women are the carers. Um, and I think, and I can only speak from my own experience, And I had an amazing father, and I have an amazing brother and husband and a son, and they're all fantastic. But I think certainly, and my husband would say this, if something comes up that he's possibly maybe a bit concerned about, he can look at it and read it and do whatever he might do and then shut it away. Where for me, it sits with me. Um, and then the stress builds, and then the MS gets worse, and I can feel the tingling. And I have learned to control that and try and have as little stress as possible. But we all have stress. Life, there's stresses in life. So, but you just try and find ways to deal with it. And certainly, as I've got older, and things have settled down a bit more, I make a very conscious decision to try not to have too much stress in my life. Try not to.
Yeah. It's a hard one to switch off to, isn't it?
Very.
And actually the part that you're in the program, you're going that next part in there around stress management and the nervous system and getting to stay in control of that even when life is stressful is such an important part of the program, because I think you can eat all of the great things, you can cut out the gluten, cut out the dairy, you can do the exercise and all the rest. But if your nervous system is like a washing machine on the inside, that's still an inflammatory response. So and the fact that you have, learned to do that, and you're going to be doing a whole other part of that again, which is
Which
brilliant.
is great.
Um,
Yeah, great.
yeah, excited for you with that because particularly as a parent, when you've got two young kiddos at that age, and a lot of times it's easier to pour all of the time and attention and care over there with, and it's not, of course you have to because they're your kids, but a lot of times it's very easy to forget oneself in order to then look after everybody else. And then, the days, the weeks, the years pass by, and your daughter's having a baby now herself.
I know.
Um,
A whole 'nother
yeah, so it
worry.
really is. Oh, I know. Listen, my daughter's in New York at the moment on her J1 visa working, and it's a new
Mm,
parenting level of fear unlocked,
yeah,
Jackie. So I can
yeah.
only imagine what it's like when
Oh,
they're about to
yeah,
have a baby themselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
Um,
wow.
the I really appreciate you being so direct and honest there, and if you were to look back at that younger version of yourself, now we're doing a little bit of that on this chat today. What would you say to that younger version of yourself? What would you
Uh,
say to her then, who's just been newly diagnosed, who is maybe juggling and worried and internalizing those concerns and having everybody else looked after? What would you say to her?
Gosh, that's a tricky one, um, because of how difficult it was initially, like I'm sure, like for many with the diagnosis. Just yeah, just try and look after yourself. Because like I say, my children were still very young, so I still needed to be mum, and I still was mum, of course, and we had the horses and the dogs, always things that I was doing. Um, so I suppose to go back and see my younger self is just a case of just be kind. Be kind to yourself. You're doing okay. Keep going.
Yeah, I love that. Be kind to yourself and keep going. I mean, that needs to be on a t-shirt, Jackie. We need t-shirts with that. That's
Yeah,
lovely. I
yeah.
love that. We are going to move into our quick fire round. Are you ready?
Okay, ready. Yeah, I think.
We've got 10 quick questions, and you can take as long as you want on them, by the way, but just so you know. Okay. So, if you followed your childhood dream, what would you be doing now?
I'll be a makeup artist.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Well, there's something else that you love doing as well around artistry. Do you want to tell everyone?
Around what? Sorry.
Around artistry.
Well, I paint. Yes, I paint in acrylics. So yeah, I love that. Love that. I was a theatrical costumier before, so I had my own business and used to hire out costumes for theatres all over the country, and wigs, makeup, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so originally, and what got me into that line really was to be a makeup artist in the theatre. I wanted to work in the theatre.
Nice. Any particular costume or play or musical that you liked being associated with during that time?
Well, I always liked Shakespeare. So when we used to go to the RSC, that was probably my favourite. I kept all the programs, and then one year my husband had framed them all, so they're up on the wall in our hall, and they look
Oh,
amazing. And I
wow.
remember saying to him, "Oh, you haven't taken the front cover off, have you?" Because I thought he's not messed up my programs that I kept for years. No, no, the whole program's in the frame. So, but it's lovely. So probably Shakespeare. We did when the dressing that I did, the shows that I dressed were ranging from sort of medieval up to 1920s. So we did everything. Many plays, many musicals. Yeah, many shows. I loved it. I loved it. It was great.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Here's a behind the scenes question. How would you get the body odor smell of people out that are running around and sweating on stage and the lights and the makeup? How did you do that?
You have special liquids. A lot went to be dry cleaned. A lot of the fabrics,
Yeah.
particularly sort of Elizabethan or 18th century fabrics, a lot of brocades that can't be washed. So, and I can't remember what it's called, but we had a little magic bottle, and I would do what we sounds awful, really, but I would do the sniff test. So,
Yeah.
so you would sniff to see does this need doing? Then you get this special liquid, and you go over the bits that you needed to go, and lots of spray, and yeah.
Who inspires you the most?
Well, Lynn said same. So you, Karen, but I know you don't want me to say that.
No,
So,
no pass, no pass. You got to pick someone else.
Vivienne Westwood used to inspire me in my punk days, um, just with her creativity of dress, and Patti Smith, um, and many artists. I'm just trying to think of the ones. I mean, there's so many.
Love that.
There's so many, but I'll go with Patti Smith because she was a poet to start with, and then obviously the singing, Erin Chabot Patti Smith group. Um, but yeah, she's very inspirational and is still touring at the age of 74.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Great inspirations. Great inspirations. Yeah, love it. Was there a particularly dark day that turned into a positive, and what was the lesson?
Yeah, I think it was when I bought tickets to see Ruby Wax at the local theatre, and I love Ruby. But I got into my head that I hadn't got the seats correct. And I need to have a seat. I need to be able to get right next to the seat. And I had a bit of a panic and thought I'm gonna call it off. I was going with my oldest friend, and I phoned and said, I don't think I can do this. I think I've messed up the seats. She said, no, 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 it'll be fine. I'll be with you. Anyway, we went, and it was fantastic. The seat was fine. We watched the
Yes.
performance. She was great. Ruby was great. Um, so yeah, that would be it really. I'm so glad I went.
That is a real example of feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well done. Well done. Lovely. What does your ideal day consist of?
Oh gosh. Well, now it would be smoothies first. Um, a good breakfast, which I am not brilliant at. I'm trying to have my breakfast. And then painting. I think at the moment that will obviously change once my grandchild has been born. But at the moment, yeah, painting. I love painting and can lose myself in my art.
I love it. That sounds like a gorgeous day. Gorgeous day. If you had a roast dinner, say it's roast potatoes and carrots and chicken or whatever your favorite things are, do you eat your favorite thing first, your favorite thing last, or a little bit of everything together?
A little bit of everything altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Same, same. It was meant to be like that, Jack.
Yeah, of course.
And the salty bits all last, the salty crunchy bits.
Yes. Oh,
At least that's what I do. If you had to choose three people to join you for dinner, whether past or with us, who would they be?
oh, wow. Oh gosh. David Bowie. Gotta say Patti Smith. I've got to say Patti Smith. Uh, and Nelson Mandela.
Oh, that'd be some dinner. Yeah. Oh, Jackie, love that. Love that. Tell us what your favorite song is, if you have one.
It's Because the Night by Patti Smith.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. I'm liking your taste, Jackie. And then second last one, what is the book that you gift the most?
Oh gosh, that's a really tricky one. Probably To Kill a Mockingbird, which I went to see with my now husband. We went to see a performance of it. I've read the book twice and I've seen the film. And it's probably one that stayed with me the longest. So To Kill a Mockingbird.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then finally, last question, how do you switch off?
Just putting a good box set on, I think. Binging some sort of Netflix drama where I can just sit back in my lovely chair with a nice drink. Yeah, and binge a box set.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that sounds like a beautiful day. I'm liking all of your dinners, your artistry, your books. I'm like, I'm coming over to visit your house, Jackie.
You're very welcome.
Oh, yeah, I know. Baby showers and painting and David Bowie. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Jackie, for joining us for this conversation. I know we had a couple of little tech things and jumping in and out, but we had a bit of a giggle in the background. If Jackie's story has moved you, please share this episode with someone who just needs a bit of a chat or a little bit of hope today. And if you're beginning your own healing journey, or maybe you've tried lots of things already, whether you're walking or rolling or somewhere in between, head to mstosuccess.com, fill out our form and see if there's any way that we can help you. Until next time, be kind to your body, trust the tiny wins, and keep talking healing to yourself. And as Jackie says, be kind to yourself and everybody else around you. Thank you for tuning in. It is great for you to be here. Thanks. Thank you to our sponsors of this episode. You can visit getcleanboss.com/Karen. And also a thank you to our video and podcast producer and editor, Aoife McNamara at Imagine Media. Thank you.